and thanks to our panelists for being here today. This is a very timely issue. I'm glad we're able to discuss it right away. So I thank the chairman and the ranking member for calling this hearing. I do have, as I'm sure most folks do, very serious concerns about the implications of this type of data getting out there and how easily it seems to be obtained by these people hacking into different systems. So I look forward to learning more about it and hearing your thoughts, additional thoughts on it. But what I'd like to find out just from you, either Dr. Fu or Mr. Green, is are there readily available private sector solutions for this that could be compared? You know, the website, you talk about the KBA, and are there private sector firms that use this type of information? And what's the best way to replace what we're doing now with a better, more secure system?
So there are security measures, certainly, Senator, you can put in place. Many of the KBA backends are provided by the private sector and, in fact, are used by the private sector. The security that worked 3-5 years ago isn't working as well today because of the information that was stolen. Through the initial login process, when you're setting up the account, there's there are two ways I look at it. One is, how do you prevent a fraudulent account from being set up? How do you stop it before it happens? And that would be through some form of two-factor authentication, improving KBA, and there are different ways to do it, one of which we've talked about is the phone or the letter. On the back end, to try to see who's doing this activity, there are ways to basically take the data logs from the servers that are logged in, perform analytics on them, and see if you're seeing a pattern of activity that is indicative of some level of fraud. Now, to some degree, for a few people, the horse is going to be out of the barn at that point, because you may already have some false logins. But you need to be looking at it from both ends. And you know, we're never going to be able to stop 100% of it. But as the criminals get more sophisticated, the tools that worked well become less effective. And I think that's where we are with KBA, and there are ways to improve it going forward.
Yes, Dr. Fu.
Well, let's see. I think I have two different responses. One is NIST. So NIST actually has proposed this 10-year roadmap called the NSTIC. It's National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace. And in fact, they already have given advice to IRS, and there's a published report. And I think that the federal systems will find better authentication systems if they do engage with NIST and take the advice of NIST's independent, non-regulatory experts. They have a wealth of information on the technologies, the risks, the benefits. There's also a number of companies working in the two-factor authentication space. I don't know any that specifically work on, for instance, protecting taxpayer information, but one company local in Ann Arbor, Duo Security, for instance, uses a mobile phone as a second factor. So when they attempt to have their customers log in to some kind of service, not only do you need to have a password, but you need to have a mobile phone present. And the idea is that it's more difficult for an intruder to physically steal your mobile phone if they're somewhere in a foreign country. There's also some interesting innovation by a company, I believe it had come out of Georgia Tech, Pindrop Security. They actually work for financial services companies. They listen to the audio of the phone calls as people call in, and they're able to actually identify the repeat offenders who are calling in pretending to be other people based on the delay in the phone line, from what country they're coming from, some interesting characteristics of the copper wires. You could use some of these advanced technologies not to eliminate, but at least reduce the risk of fraudsters trying to go from one fraudster doing 100,000 accounts to at least making it more difficult to scale up to so many different accounts from one adversary.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Casper, I am sorry you've had to go through this experience, as so many others have, but you had indicated that the IRS thought the email account, and maybe I read this somewhere, that the email account was suspicious. Was that from your testimony, or was it?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact words that they used, but when I was on the phone with them, they said, yeah, that doesn't seem right, or something like that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, especially if these are coming from foreign adversaries, that if they have a different email address that indicates they are originating from a foreign nation, that's something that could be flagged for requiring additional information. I don't know if that's something else that could be considered.
There's probably some analytics they could do just on the domain name, but because they highlighted the 200,000 had these suspicious domain names, but it's also very easy to get a Hotmail or Yahoo email account and automate that and have some type of process for taking advantage of it. So there are things that it seems like they were not doing with monitoring those servers and transactions that they could have been doing.
Well, thank you.
IP addresses and all that.
Exactly. And do any of you know, has the IRS reached out to any private sector providers to try and correct the system that they have now, or done any sort of control measures? Do any of you know? Okay, that's a question for our next panel. Okay, well, I appreciate it very much. I thank you for your time, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of this and find better ways of utilizing our information systems. Thank you.